So there's an issue under the Employment Standards Act that deals with layoffs, and I want to deal with that because it's a common misconception that the employer has the right of layoff by what the Employment Standards Act says in Ontario and other jurisdictions as well. So the Ontario Act says on its face the employer can lay off for up to 13 weeks and up to 34 weeks, I believe it is, if benefits are continued. A lot of people read the Employment Standards Act and say, well, I guess the employer has that right. But in fact, the employer does not have that right unless it has been contracted between the employer and the employee. So if the employee is told, well, guess what, Harry, you're being laid off, as the Employment Standards Act allows for let's say, 12 weeks, the employee may treat that as termination of employment under common law and also demand the statutory payment that he or she is entitled to, plus the common law entitlement. So the wording of the statute is confusing. It does not equal a common law right to the employer. So the employee has a choice to make when he or she is advised of a temporary layoff. They can do nothing, just wait for the layoff period to expire. And if they're returned to work, then they can choose then what they want to do. They don't have to go back to work, but they have the benefit of the passing of time to make that decision. So many people will say, I don't want to go back to work. I'd rather have the termination payments and sue. And then there's a valid claim at common law. If the employer responds to that by saying, well, the layoff's over now, come back to work, there raises this issue of the Evans stuff that we talked about earlier. But again, the employer has to make the statutory payments to be in compliance with this legal obligation, which guess what, they won't do. So basically, the employee has the right to treat a statutory layoff as termination of employment, as a constructive dismissal, unless there's some kind of contract that the employee signed at the outset, that is the beginning of the relationship, that gives the employer that right. If that does not happen, then everything I said above is so. So just be smart and beware of your rights, and good luck.